My goal is to work from a very direct, with a direct method. I want to capture as much as I can, capture the spirit, capture the essence right away. The choices you make go hand in hand. And I've learned that as I paint, and in painting, it's become important for me to look to the relationships of what I'm painting. You can arrange the setup with the different elements, darker elements, lighter elements, bright colors, dull colors, and you can arrange them all like different characters in a cast or in a story, and together, because of the interesting changes either in size or mass or value, either it's really light or really dark, these different elements create something very stimulating visually. And that's what I love about still life. This is a great negative space shape between where the cast shadow connects the bottle to the copper. And then you have the table. Then you have the background. Now, even this shadow, it's taking a portion of space, and compositionally, it's actually very helpful to lead the eye in and kind of push the eye this way. The more open space you have, the more you have to find subtle ways to kind of pull the eye to the information that you want to be seen, which in this case, it's the objects and the journey that you can make by moving your eye over the objects. But this cast shadow is going to play all these darks. And this cast shadow from the side panel, the cast shadows on the table, the darks around the objects, they're all being set up right now to play a role that is going to, it's a very quiet role, but it's going to make the light really shine. So. So as I'm working on the table, you see I'm fluctuating a lot in color. And what I'm looking at is I'm comparing the way the table looks here, here, and here, and here, and relating them all to each other. Sometimes it gets darker, sometimes it gets lighter, sometimes it gets cooler or warmer. There's a lovely reflection coming down in here that's going to be a little more on the orangey yellow side. And so I'm looking for those things. But I'm also comparing them a little bit to the objects, so I can so that I'm not. Or right away, I want to start infusing it with some of the characteristic of the final colors it's going to have. So like that, compared to what happens back here, it's much darker. Now this little cup is actually playing the role of a light element, but because it's transparent, you still want to have the feeling there is the bottle behind it. So with glass, I found it helpful to also paint some of the background behind it or over it, rather than trying to draw the whole glass at once. So again, it's almost like a piecing together of a jigsaw puzzle. You know, the dark of the bottle comes down and into it about here. And then we have another dark. So again, first getting all my darks in, I feel like I can start playing in the light when I'm done. And then the light is really nothing like the dark. It's something completely different. So I would say that if that's a question that would be posed, I'll pose it. Do I ever paint a solid object or a local color and then lighten it or darken it? And I would say no, because the two actually are very completely different things, the light and the dark. Okay, now we need some. I also really like the filberts because of the fact that you can get such nice rounded brush strokes to very quickly describe an object without having to fine tune it very much. You can get a really nice edge for most things. Okay, now at this point, sometimes I have to go back and simplify things. Like I feel like for some reason, if this edge is less prominent, it brings the eye right here. So I actually went back and decided to simplify the shadow. So in some ways, I might leave something unfinished because I know that later I'm going to use the painting of that object to carve out an edge for another object. So by leaving this a little bit undone for a while, makes it possible for me to now create the glass just by painting the bottle around it. If that makes sense. And I think I'm going to need to correct my symmetry here. I see painting is putting shapes next to shapes. Like I think before I mentioned a jigsaw puzzle. Like here, I just want to redefine that. So I had to make another shape. I had to make the leaf a little bit lower so it would come down to the shadow I just put in. So you're never stuck with a drawing. It can evolve and be very painterly, which sometimes, you know, the tendency, perhaps you've heard said this before, or this said before, that you can find yourself very quickly filling in the lines when you have more of a drawing. But when you think like, hey, I'm just putting these shapes together, these shapes of light, or these shapes of dark, or the shapes of color, then there's a pattern to it. Like this. I mean, it's a small kind of insignificant area seemingly, but this negative space right here, let's see, wait, I have to set it up. I didn't paint enough light around it. Go a little. A little lighter, higher, that leaf. Okay. So getting that negative space right here to contrast. Creates a leaf, you know. All right, so I think this has to be the last